Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. So, I'm sure you've been made aware of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And I just wanted to take a moment to really think about where America is at the moment and how many secular liberal atheists are loathing the fact that the shooter missed. And I want you to realize these are the same people who hate how Islam has a militaristic creed as part of its overall religion, as in where there's jihad in Islam, and where men are not called to be really wormy pacifists, but patient, stoic, and steadfast in a way. So, these same people who find anything and everything to criticize about Islam are the same people, and they hate that Islam has the government side to it, such as a caliphate, a military side, right? They hate all that. But then they're melting down all over TikTok, and the clips are getting shared on Twitter and X about Twitter/X, about how they are just really upset. And I want you to realize these people are cheering for children who are watching the rally to witness someone have their brains splattered. So the myth of the decorum of the liberal and of the atheist is made as clear as day. And this is a good reminder of who they are. Okay? There seems to be this smugness of, well, if you're a liberal, if you're an atheist, you wouldn't hurt a fly, you're above it all, you're soaring through the clouds, you're not beastly at all, you're not capable of cruelty, and they're so posh and above it all, when in reality you can see them hungering for the same brutalness that exists across the world. Okay? So just keep that in mind. And something I thought was interesting was how you have Abraham Lincoln, and then you had JFK, you had Ronald Reagan who got blasted, and now you have Donald Trump who got murked on his ear. But if he would have turned just a little bit at the wrong second, we would have a totally different situation. And it made me realize that the tensions now are really quite high, and the fallout of what would have happened in our country if he had been if he would have been unalived would have been quite catastrophic, I think. And if people rioted over some criminal degenerate like George Floyd, who put a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, who did amateur porn and was a career criminal, well, imagine how people would be gloating and baiting the right wing to hold their own demonstrations and whatnot. And I find this to be unhealthy, quite unhealthy, because America is only as strong as its unitedness. And with the factions that rise, we can see that that's not really working out well. And also another aspect of this is how women who are out of shape are in the Secret Service. It's appalling. And we realize even more now that when men who cosplay as women get into their sports, they beat women incredibly fast, and women were complaining like, oh, the men are beating us at our own sports. They're even beating women in beauty pageants. They just keep beating women in everything that they do where men and women are put together. And a lot of women have complained that it's wrong that a male be allowed to fight a female in a UFC match, because it's just absurd. And so when we see people putting people's lives at risk by putting weaker security agents on a force, well, that's not a good sign. Women don't belong in security field. I have always advocated for a security mindset for self-defense of your home, family, and property and community, not for women to enlist in those jobs. Now, I understand because of Hollywood, women fighting in high heel scenes and kung fu movies, women's strength has been greatly, played into the role of myth, all right? But in raw reality, we see that's not the case, because if men and women really were the same in physical strength and ability, there wouldn't really be the outrage for domestic violence. When a woman hits a man, it's no big deal. When a man hits a woman, it's a big deal because they say, oh, well, he's stronger than her, so he should know better. And it's not a fair fight. So women cannot protect men from other men, as well as men can protect men from other men. Really follow that reasoning. And I think it's so strange that we have this compulsion to want to act as masculine as possible when it comes to jobs. Women do not need to be in security jobs. If you were to tell Kim Kardashian, you can have an all-female team or an all-male team defend you, I really wonder how many female celebrities would be like, yeah, give me the all-female one. We know women can't lift as much as men. And yes, the Second Amendment is a great equalizer in some aspects. But you can tell with this footage, these women are out of shape. They seem afraid. They were ducking. One lady couldn't holster her weapon. And these are supposed to be the elite who guard the leader of a military base empire. Okay, it's really disgraceful, because if you have a woman guarding a man, it's different when it's an ornament. Like, here's her spear. She's gonna do some stupid dance. She's some eye candy. The only woman who belongs, and like if she was gonna do that, she should be roided out to the point where if you painted her green, she'd look like a Hulk. She should be ugly and scary. Female corrections officers, they're usually fat, out of shape. This doesn't make you strong. I don't know what happened to women thinking that if you're fat, you're somehow strong, and you can handle a man who is of average strength and he's hallucinating or he's really angry or bent on hurting you. I watch a lot of police activity videos. You can see female officers time and time again fail. They can't hold down the men. The men are stronger. They discharge their weapon more often because they have to stop the suspect, and they can't use their physical strength, so they use lethal force. And this isn't wise. Women shouldn't be police officers. They shouldn't be firefighters. They shouldn't be in active duty. Tulsi Gabbard was part of that normalization, I realize, and that's wrong, and they shouldn't be in the Secret Service. The president represents the country, and if it's so easy to put weak people around him, this makes us look really bad. We don't need women doing these jobs. And those women didn't even look like really buff, roided out butch lesbians. They kind of looked at a lady who might work in a warehouse or something along those lines. They don't look scary, and they're fat. It don't make any sense. If you want to have a woman in a role that requires dealing with threats, it's life and death, she better have some battle scars. But these women were unprofessional. They looked flustered and panicked. The men constantly seem cool in their head. They're just like focusing on the job. The women didn't look that way. You could clearly see the difference. Not all women can maintain composure in situations like that. Also, if a woman is eye candy, men aren't going to fear her. See, when you're in security, you need to be feared. You need to be a lethal killing machine. You need to have a sense of life and death. And you just can't get that from a lot of women. You really can't, because a mother will defend her children to the death, but putting her life on the line for a job, it's not the same. It's time that we have a serious conversation about what feminists have done, what liberals have done, because they've disrupted the gender order, where men can be drag queens, men can cosplay as women, eunuchs are just the same as women who can give birth. Everything is turned upside down with the liberal order, and liberals will censor everything heavily online. Yet, they don't want themselves to be censored when they're complaining about how the shooter missed. Really think about how they're allowed to call for that type of violence, okay? But they report memes. I've been censored heavily on YouTube. I've never said anything as extreme as calling for direct acts of violence and stuff like that. I've always told people to get educated, be well trained, gain knowledge, and to be vigilant against criminals, right? But here you can see tons of liberals just going unhinged, and I don't want them to be censored. I just want them to stop censoring everyone else for everything, because liberals run social media, and they really do control artificially who gets boosted and who gets shadow banned. And it's just surprising seeing it all play out. Vosh and Destiny just really not doing too well. Vosh was trying to pretend it was a Republican who did it. Some folks have captured information that the suspect was of Jewish descent and he had a yarmulke, and that he did donate to the Biden campaign. And so there's a lot out there that we're still verifying, but it is quite troubling nonetheless. I would argue that women should be very careful of men who tell them they should join these high-risk jobs. And any man who really pushes for women to do these dangerous feats, I don't think they actually really care about women and what they're capable of. And I think if more women watched less movies and actually had to see men and women combat against each other, we would come to the truth of how frail we really are. But how many women could stomach watching a man and a woman fight in a gladiatorial game? They would start to feel like, oh, but she's a woman. Oh, that's sad. She's a woman. Like, you have this natural thing of the man protects the woman, not the woman protects the man. Now, in some of the security playlists that I do about security mindset, I've shared, like, Safe Citizen, October 2023, I just uploaded. A woman was able to defend her husband from an assailant, alright? Now, that happens. That's self-defense, though. Self-defense. And that isn't the woman's normal job, okay? It just isn't right that we're allowing liberals to draft women into positions that put everyone else at risk, that many women are not qualified to do. They're not mentally strong enough to handle such things. And in order for a woman to be able to do that, she has to cut off parts of her femininity in order to do so. A woman can prove that she's strong and valuable and needed in other ways than putting everyone else at risk for virtue signaling points. It's time that we go back to the proper order of where women belong and where men belong. And just because you have a figure like Gaddafi, who had an all-women force, he still died in an embarrassing way. And those women didn't save him. Even if one died defending him, they didn't do a good enough job. And yes, there have been men who have had all-male security detail and still died. But the truth remains. A woman is not as strong as a man. She's just not. Okay? We have to let it go of this fake male feminist philosophy that women can do anything a man can do. No, because we women are special. Men are special, and we're different, and we can embrace that difference. Women don't belong on security details. When it's life and death, you have to have the best for the job, not what's your gender, what's your skin's tone, and what's your religion. If we're gonna go that far, right? So, these are the same people as well who say a woman shouldn't be allowed to wear a niqab because of security threat, but they're the same people who will say that a woman should be hired to protect the president. Which, her being in that position is a security threat because it means that a more qualified male was passed over so they can virtue signal. Which means they're totally fine with gambling with someone's life just so long as they make social brownie points in the DEI economy. It's really quite sad, and we need to do better. I'm not going to vote this election. I don't think any one of the candidates is going to help any Muslim at all. And they're all going to give money to the Zionist war. And so there's no win-win. I don't think anyone, Trump or Biden, would do anything against the Rainbow Mafia. And if Biden resigns and Gavin Newsom gets pushed up, well, look what he did to California. But it is also iconic, Trump putting his fists in the air and being defiant. Meanwhile, Joe Biden has fallen off his bicycle. He's fallen upstairs. He's very weak, feeble. Always seems like he's falling asleep. He stutters. He can't be coherent at times. He's constantly making gaffes. Meanwhile, you have Trump, who was able to be strong in a time where his life blinked before his eyes. And so you can see the difference in bravery, courage, and health, right? The best the liberals had was a feeble old weirdo whose son smokes crack and got a stripper pregnant and who slept with his dead son's widow. Very deranged family. And whose wife is screeching constantly. It's really alarming because assassination attempts have been done throughout history. America is not new to them, but I think this just goes to show you the disunity that we have. That we all could have seen the leader taken out in front of us. And how messy that would have been. And how his children, that's pretty creepy, man. To see your parent out there and just that whole moment. It'll be very difficult to deal with. I do wonder how Melania was dealing with it. Your husband almost eliminated on the world stage. And then literally thousands of atheists, thousands of liberals, thousands of progressives, thousands of Democrats calling him Hitler, but then saying, oh, get well soon. So if they think he's Hitler, why are they saying get well soon? The honest leftist still hates Trump no matter what. The honest leftist, like Destiny's having a meltdown, and I think it's despicable, but at the same time, at least he's sticking to his hatred. Whereas the fake ones in the corporate media, one minute they're like, he's gonna cause the end of the free world. And they're ramping up somebody to attack him, and then when someone finally does it because of their rhetoric, they're like, oh, well, actually, we have to have decorum. Meanwhile, they've been rallying up each other. And so, it's just really strange how America can't seem to find the line of political free speech, the open expression of ideas, and curtailing wackiness. Jordan Peterson took a while to speak out, and so did Ben Shapiro. They took a while to speak out. But if it was Benjamin Netanyahu, people would have been like, their tweets would have been instantaneous. So it kind of just shows you who they care about more. But, it's a strange time we're living in. And now, after they got called rats, Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, they've made a couple comments. But it doesn't feel good. There's something primal about, it's just something primal about your leader being attacked like that. It's a weird feeling, because you're like, hey, now we're getting into dangerous territory. And what would have happened if that would occur? Because America's military-based empire, funding foreign proxy wars. If there's a civil war at home, that's an utter collapse. So what are people going to do? Really think about that. How much more censorship will the liberals call for? How many more people will they ban? Will they start locking people up? What will they do? Because I do think it's true that they persecuted him with the court system. They banned him off social media. Like, they keep trying to get at him. And then others were pointing out for quite some time the next step is an attempt on his life, and then it happens. So, liberals will say, don't be a conspiracy theorist. But then they're also saying it was staged. And you're like, okay, wait a minute. They tell you that you're not allowed to discuss conspiracy theorists, but then the same people are saying it was staged so Trump could get more votes. They're not consistent. That's the thing that bothers me about liberals. But I would also argue, though, too, someone had posted a picture of a pickup truck, which on the bed, the back part door that opens, there was a painted picture on the truck of Joe Biden gagged and his hands bound, laying flat. Someone painted that, which is funny, but it is a bit on the nose. And so there's a lot of tenseness in the air. And if you recall, how many liberals did parades where there was like a effigy of Trump and they beheaded it with a guillotine? They've done Trump being shot. Kathy Griffin, if you recall, she had a picture of her with Trump's head. So liberals have consistently made death imagery around Trump, but then they'll tell you that they're not extreme and they're all about peace, love, and cookies and milk. I don't think so, and I think this proves it. It's weird that line was also left open. Inside job has been floated around a lot, but I wonder how long it'll take before the establishment starts to censor everyone who has questions. But I don't think it's easy for them to hide everything as it used to be in the past, but we'll see. Either way, I don't think it's healthy where people want to result to that, because I don't think Trump has merited such a response. He's a loudmouth person who's funny and a businessman, a showman. I don't see him as someone who's literally Hitler. It's just someone who can be a bit off-putting sometimes, but also funny. But not someone who deserves that type of death. That type of death is for like a true tyrant. Someone who's really caused trouble to their people. But hopefully people grow from this, they learn from this. And it's really sad that someone lost their life at the rally. The person was injured. And, they didn't really deserve that. But to Allah we all return. And, subhanallah, maybe Trump will be different after this, because he had a near-death experience. You never know. May Allah guide him to Islam. Because, boom, at that moment, right there, just think right on your ear, like, whew, the aim. And it is quite sad that Destiny made a very edgy joke. I don't think he should be banned for it, but he was saying how you have to practice at the shooting range and stuff, which is pretty tense joke. But is that anything really different than what we hear? Like, Ari Shafir made a joke about Kobe Bryant. Louis C.K. made pretty punchy jokes. Tons of people have made horrible jokes about Trump before this attempt. So, I mean, it's not really out of the norm. It's just the timing. But again, everybody wants to be the first one to say something very, very edgy. you know, but that's America. That's the time. But he is definitely someone who's stronger and more fearless now, I'd argue. Before he was having fun, but I think now that'll give someone's soul a total shift into a new direction. But as a Muslim, I'd say whichever candidate wins doesn't serve us. And as a woman, I'd say I'm going to leave it to the men to vote this round because I'm not paying taxes because I'm a stay-at-home mom. If I'm paying taxes, then I got more of an argument to vote. But I don't think anything on the ballot will really affect us Muslims very much. And I do think Biden and Trump, they want oil, so they would make some deals. So they're not really as against Islam as they say. But I think that people will come around eventually. I have hope. But be safe and don't throw away your life over politicians. That person who did that to Trump, they will go down in history. Maybe that's what they wanted, but that's not the best way to gain something in life, you know? And he died a kafir from our knowledge, so he's not going to paradise. But I just don't see, like, why would you over Trump? It's not like he's Mussolini or Pol Pot or the Dajjal. Yeah, some people really don't love their life on Earth, and that was made me sad. And the people who live through that, you know, they're going to have that memory for life. Because some of the screams, you could see that they were very shocked. But he's still going to go on his campaign rallies, which is pretty badass. And Biden, when he was running in the first election, he was campaigning from his basement. They all made jokes. Nobody really shows up to his rallies like that, and I think you're going to see a surge in his electability, and I really do think that he would win the election because there's something primal about seeing somebody get blasted at and then not kowtow in fear. Whereas someone like Biden might poop himself, you know, he's just so feeble and pathetic. He doesn't have that sense of strength. And seeing someone be defiant in the face of death, it's pretty cool. It's just like a bald eagle that got an arrow at it, but it still flies on. There's something very unique about that inspires people. So, this person who did that to Trump probably helped him get more elected because he gave that whole scene world coverage where like people in different countries stopped and was like, what? So he got his name in the history books, but you know, the iconic photo of Trump getting up with the American flag in the back and his ear bleeding and his fist is in the air. Wow. I mean, that probably is going to beat George Washington paintings and any other paintings, to be honest. I mean, that's deep on a primal level. So, be safe out there, and you never know when it's your time to go. And love your family. Spend time with your family. You never know when a lunatic who has nothing left to live for wants to take you out so that they can have some semblance of specialness for a fleeting moment in time. Just shows you there's a lot of people willing to throw away their life. You know. Let me know what you think. It's a tense topic, but I hope we can discuss it with maturity and grace. Because it doesn't feel right. If it was like when Bolsonaro of Brazil, he got shanked in the stomach, if you watch that footage. That's intense. Pretty intense. So, Remember that. And Bolsonaro got elected after that. And someone who survives that, they have a bit of a toughness to them. Like I said, a leader who has gotten hurt or has risked their life, they get more respect than someone who is only posh behind a desk. There's something primal about it, and I kind of like it. I gotta say, it's pretty inspirational. Like, if you're having a bad day and then you remember that Trump got up and was defiant, like, that's a leader. And you just look at decrepit Joe, what liberals put in the office. It's really disgusting. Just shows you the effeminate liberals and what they value. And they don't even value a wise leader with a long beard who's studied for a long time and he's just this philosopher king. No, they choose like someone as decrepit as Joe. And the Republicans, even though they're kind of loudmouth, bit brutish, bit on the nose, overly blunt, very direct, but they chose to rally behind somebody who, when the bullet comes at them, they roar. That's something. I don't think the King of England would be like that. I don't see him as that kind of posh figure. The leader of France, Macron, I don't see him like that at all. Canada, Trudeau, no. It's just different. It's like having a strong, masculine, heterosexual leader who survived an assassination attempt. That's maybe the direction we need to go, you know? But again, like I said, as a Muslim, I won't vote. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, when you look at the policies, for me, we have to be Islam first. What are they going to do for us? But it's a tense topic. More information is developing, so let me know what you think, and may Allah guide us and preserve us, and I hope you have a good day. If you'd like to support my work and see more about what I write, I did more refutations of pearly things recently, and if you're into seeing red pillars critiqued, you might enjoy that, and you can go to www.subscribestar.com/Milahan Archive. Hope to see you there.